got my notes here. My name is Drew Schultz, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the Mexico mission trip. As you may or may not know, the Mexico mission trip is a large part of the life of this church. What you may not know is there's only about 3 months of the year where we do nothing about Mexico. The rest of the time, 9 months out of the year, we're actually doing something, whether it's planning or we're meeting with the students, getting them ready, or we're on the trip, which, by the way, is March 27th to April 3rd. Keep that in your head. And you guys think about the Mexico trip as well, right? How many of you, when you're cleaning out your closet or you're taking stuff out, and you're like, oh, wait, I need to save that for the Mexico garage sale, right? Right? And how many of you actually at the Mexico garage sale fill those closets back up again? Anyway, so we have been blessed over the years to have a number of people generously giving of their time, and we have actually been a real blessing to many, many, many kids. For over 30 years. And by my count, we're over 1,000 kids' lives have been affected by this Mexico mission trip. And the leaders, we've had some many great leaders. Kathy Burkholder, some of you guys remember Kathy. She started the Mexico trip over 30 years ago. We've had amazing leaders like Bob Fouts, Scott McMullen, Ott Vandenhout, Rod Lair, who have been leading and being part of this trip for many, many, many years. This consistent leadership has really made this trip special and has made this trip very special for all the youth that we've been bringing to Mexico. Now, as this group of amazing leaders, they're starting to retire. They're saying, well, you know, I can't do this all the time. We're looking now for the next generation of leaders to help out with this trip. Now, to be fair, you know, I'm not saying we're looking for the next people to volunteer for the next 30 years of your life to be part of this trip. That would be unreasonable. But it's really to be a part of the trip and be a consistent for 5 years, whatever, just to be a part of the life of these students, because the students go through the trip. Most kids go all 4 years of high school, and it's part of what we do as Sticky Faith in this church, to be a part of these youth's lives. And also, to be fair, is once you start going, you kind of get hooked, because it's amazing. And for me personally, the Mexico mission trip has been a part of my family's life for the past 25 years. Grace, my wife, she went on the trip before we had kids. So she was actually the first in our family to go. So I started going when my oldest child was 1 year old. So I'm looking pretty young there. Some people thought I was crazy to leave. We had our kids in the spring. Twice I left when Grace was 7 months pregnant. People thought that I was crazy. She is. But I can say for certain, God provided for us. God provided everything that we needed. The Mexico trip is hard, but it's also very life-giving. Kurt was talking about generosity, right? The generous giving of time and going to Mexico. God is also extremely generous, and when I talk about things of being life-giving, I mean that's the love of God kind of flowing back into my life. So I can tell you a number of different ways where it was life-giving. It was life-giving for my kids when they were young, to hear the stories about lives changed coming back. Both the lives changed of the families in Mexico that we served, and then the lives changed of the youth that were in Mexico. It was life-giving to me as a father to be able to hit the reset button every year and reset my priorities and come back and be a better husband and a better father for my kids. It was life-giving to my kids also in a way where they had something to look forward to and where they could really get a sense of kind of what are our priorities as a family. And it was life-giving for all of us when we could finally go on the trip together and just experience God's love and God's generosity back at us. Now that my kids have actually all graduated from high school, and it's life-giving to me as well to be able to help and to work with the next generation, both in the youth and the next generation of leaderships, to really understand kind of how to experience Mexico. So to be fair, I plan on going to Mexico for many, many more years. It's part of kind of my DNA at this point. And I believe it's important for the youth of this area, specifically this area. We talked about how expensive it is to live here, but it's really important for the youth of this area to see God's love and experience the life-changing things that happen in Mexico and to really understand income inequality and that the things that they have aren't as important as providing shelter and comfort for the families we do. Okay, that's all I have to say. It's a lot. So Rod, Kurt, myself, and Grace, we're going to be downstairs in Fellowship Hall, and we would love to tell you more about the trip. We want to encourage you to think about being an advisor, regardless of whether you have thought about this or not before. You know, I've heard people say, yeah, I want to go to the trip. When my kids are old, I want to go on the trip with the kids, right? But I would encourage you to rethink that, or to think about, how can I show God's love and set an example for my family and the community by doing things for other people? And I know my family has been extremely blessed by this trip, as well as the families that we have helped over the years. We start meeting in January, right after the new year. And remember, the trip is during the spring break of the middle school, high school, youth. It's all the same spring break, March 27th, April 3rd. Thank you.